Definitely feels like we're getting to the closing stages of Merchant of Venus now. I ran one more time since the last time. Nothing exciting happened. Yellow landed at a base, dropped off a fare there. They still have a lot of space on their ship. They're planning on dropping off at the Winhams. I don't think they're close. I added them up. They didn't feel it. White felt a lot further behind than I thought they were. So now it's beginning to look like red and black are probably. Maybe yellow's in it. White I know is not from their counting. But we'll see. We'll see where we kind of end up. Well, I forgot to drop this fare off. I moved and I didn't get it. Whoops. Wonder why. Thought I took the money. Well, bang, that's it. When I pulled into here with the Dell, I'm saying they may not be there. They had 3,600 something money, cash, properties, dropped off, another couple hundred in drop-offs. Then by selling the spaceship and picking up, as they're allowed to here, no, they're not. Oh, I cheated. Yeah, I couldn't drop their ship far enough. Oops. Yeah, they're a little short. Trade-in would be less money made than I had, and I thought they could drop down to a scout ship. If they did that, they make it. But if they drop from the freighter with its trade-in of 150 to this, they actually lose money. They gain quite a few bucks for the trade-in there, $100, and they're within $100 of it. So, I'm gonna have to undo that. And they sold their stuff. They'll pick up a bunch of impossible furniture, and they're ready to win if they can drop that off here. 8, 9, 10, 1. So they'll one more turn. They're at that. We'll see. They will not need to sell the ship in order to make that. It's only $150, and these guys are making 70 each, plus percentage on their own property. Plus, he'll be able to sell off the Nova Ball and the shield if he needs to. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Let's see. I can't miss this jump though. So, White is moving from here. They got a big roll. They're using a 5 as their pilot number. They've got a 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They can make it there. They're able to sell off their pedigree bolts there. Now, they do not have the ability to launch an attack. I thought they were going to launch an attack on this red Clipper. See if they could grab an extra $300 that way, because this game is really coming down to that. I don't think that's enough to help the E-Beeps, but they are worried Red's in the lead, is doing quite well. Actually, they're worried everybody's doing quite well and that they need to get some money. Well, we knew Red was quite close as well, and they've just pulled into here. They have in cash 3,000, well, including this, 3,290 something. All right. They need about $700. They got $600 here off the sale of the 2 servo mechanisms. Plus, they're going to get another $60 because they get a 10% share off that. It's not enough yet, but that's okay, because they can do as many operations as they like. So they can sell each of these relics at half price, and that's going to be another 200, call it $100 for that. So that'll be 110 with their cut. The Nova Ball's worth $11, and the shield is going to be worth 33. So that gives them some $800. That's going to be enough to push them over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spreadsheet everybody's wealth out and show just how close it was, just so that we can get kind of an impression of what works, what doesn't. But that doesn't really tell you a lot, because there is a lot of luck. There is a lot of, oh yeah, I was able to sneak away and, you know, get this little path on my own. But one really clear thing, you get the right relics and it puts you in great shape. Red having these relics gave them a lot of power. Who else was up there? Well, Yellow was definitely up there, and they did not. They managed to make some good hauls with that big ship, though, which Blue, who had a big ship longer, didn't manage to do. They're in quite bad shape. Black, hey, nothing too impressive here either. Green has the next best relics, and I'm going to guess that they're coming in pretty low on the totem pole, maybe like 5th place in this game. Blue is going to come in 6th, I think. So there's no real guarantees, but I can tell you, you get Jumpstart, and if the gates are set up kind of nice, some games there are no gates. You know, there's a bunch of counters that just aren't in here. Okay, a bunch of relics, a bunch of different counters. So you can't be sure you're going to get a good relic. Like, you can't be sure Jumpstart's going to be good. Sometimes Switch is better, because that can give you some chance in here. We saw Green, though, getting screwed over there. Anyway, we'll come back after I've done the calculations. Another thing to look at. The cash is almost gone. All the properties are gone. There's one left. 6 players, $4,000. It's about the limit of what the game can handle in terms of components. You could throw some extra money in from 1830 or something, but you know, it's just really a. I don't think you'd want to play much longer than this, but than the $4,000 game. But yeah, certainly in less players, the higher value is even more interesting, because you don't see the same dynamics happening. The game has definite pattern of periods in it. It's got this timeline where, you know, it starts out everything's kind of on the board at once, and then it kind of drifts away to this, wow, there's actual scarcities. There's also the fact that some things don't have demand counters, like those servo mechanisms. The big things in some cases with high values just do not have the quantity of demand counters or of actual commodities. So we never saw any of those come up. I don't think we saw a Psychotic Sculpture one come up. I'm not sure they exist. I often tend to go for those things and then wonder, hey, how come, you know, I'm going for the big payoff things. How come I never see an increased demand? Well, I think some of them just don't exist at all. And others, they're more common at the low end. You'll see you can make a big pile of money off the increased demand counters with big shipments of some of the kind of lower end stuff that doesn't produce the big money per commodity. But it does mean that in the middle of the game you could luck into something really sweet. And we saw that in a couple places. Anyway, I'll come back with the monies. So, whatever the value of it all, I kind of broke down what everybody's got here. And, well, the humans, I broke it into money, holdings, being property holdings, what's in their cargo bay, but I'm not counting any passengers there. I didn't really try to evaluate, but I don't think anybody was in a position where they were about ready to dump their passengers with their next cargo. This guy has it to the base. He might have made that fairly soon. In fact, before he makes it, he'd likely make it about the same time as he makes it there. So he's got an extra $180 for the nick, which puts him a little over 3,000, but still deep into that 5th place position. The reason is cargo's tough to deliver. The other thing I didn't count in, although I did note it, was IOUs that you had outstanding. The EAP had 90 and the WIN had 100. They never scored these. Again, those are as hard to score as passengers. Quite often it's really tough. There's a reason that you haven't been able to score it. If you didn't score it right away, and then the routes didn't develop for it, well, it's unlikely those routes will ever develop. Usually when there are backwaters in this game, some of them stay that way for a long time. We saw 2 become a backwater early on, but not later. Let's take a look. 7A. 7A is up here. People very seldomly were going there. Black's flying through there all the time, though. He could stop. It just tends to not be the good hit because you're running from 3 to 5. So that money was easy to score, and he might have been doing it. His cargo on board was sufficient to win him the game. That's also the case with the Dell, obviously. We saw, geez, they almost won. They were about $100 short. Well, obviously, their next move, they would have been winning. Black, chances are, their next move, they would have been winning. So we had a very close game with 3 players coming to that end at the same time. But 3 of the players fell behind pretty severely, especially the poor humans. Those freighters, you know, yellow did well with one. Blue somehow was unable to get it to work well. The combined drive definitely helps you because you're flying at better speed than you start with. The red drive should pretty much even things out and make it not that terrible. It generally tends to be not that great a deal, though, to have those guys. We saw some big hauls happening, so I don't know. In terms of holdings, everybody's about equal there. Really, if you forego those, you're giving up a big advantage. Factories early in the game are really cool because you get that kickback right off of 50%. That can be huge. You're basically, buying valuable items that are already discounted. Factory goods are already a good deal. And you're getting them at half the price everyone else does. Plus, when they do come out, that good deal will convince other people to buy them. And then the spaceports are just so key. Now, I consider them less important early in the game because people often are more willing to delay a turn. First of all, there aren't spaceports everywhere, so they're not used to being receiving that kind of service. When they get it, they're great. But if you only are carrying one good or whatever, I don't know, somehow it seems a lot easier to delay. Even though, to tell you the truth, it's better to take the delay on your big shipment that's going to be a lot of money, that's a big percentage. But somehow psychologically, it just seems like people are more willing, they're facing it. I mean, the truth is, once the spaceports are there, you take them. When you look at it and say, oh, I'm only delivering one thing, maybe I should take the, maybe I should land on the planet. No, because you want to buy something there probably, or whatever. So, you're giving up a turn. You're giving up a turn for 10% of your income, and it's only really worth it when you're dropping a huge load there to think about not giving that. And even then, you're helping one person by 10% of your income, whereas all the other people you're gaining, not just that 10%, you're gaining that turn on is the big deal. Cargo doesn't really matter except by adding everything up. Now, equipment is probably the hardest of the things I counted in here. But if you look, the $90, the win we're going to use, they didn't need that, and they weren't going somewhere where they could turn it. The 280 the Dell could turn around was a big deal, and they were not going to be able to turn that around, but they still had enough on hand that they could win. I did count, though, in equipment, some of that is, oh, geez, I'm carrying a combined drive. I can sell that anywhere. It's not like a spaceship. Spaceships can only be traded in when you buy a new spaceship. Not a whole hell of a lot else to say, except I always kind of stumble away not sure what happened with this game. I don't feel like I can look at it in a way like an XX game and say, it's pretty clear this guy had a steady growth, etc. I think some of the actual powers are slightly more, some of the player choices are slightly better than others. For example, I really like the Quasith for the simple reason that they have the best commodity available to them, and he gets discounts on factories and spaceports in that location. But it could be, we didn't see a lot of traffic in this stuff. It could be that that's kind of a mistake, and that, to tell you the truth, it's the things that come up a lot that are kind of nice. The E-beeps here, they were used a lot. I think that has more to do with the geometry of the board, the randomizing procedure at the beginning of the game that determines what the routes are going to be. Well, there's no reason. I mean, if the E-beep were here in the cloud or somewhere off on a corner, they're not going to be as valuable. And that's really the truth. The geography of the map determines which of these little planets are going to be hit the most, assuming decent patterns arise around them. There's certain things that are kind of painful, like going through the supernova is painful. This whole side of the board is kind of painful, to tell you the truth. It's nice to get in a little area and be able to ring that little triangular trade the way I had here. This boink, 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 just continuously until somebody else finds it. Another nice one was up here, hitting this, and then this, down, and then 9 can't get to here. There was the possibility of stringing to here, but quite often we didn't even see that happening. The jump gates made that a tighter turn and made a really nice money-making apparatus there. Recognizing where the best money is going to be, I think that's just beyond me. I was never terribly good at this game, I fear, and that may be obvious to those of you who watch. Anyway, I'll come back with a review in a little bit.